Hey everyone, and welcome to this new devotional series from Out of Ashes Ministries. These devos are meant to be short and to the point. I want to give you something to think about throughout your day and maybe even throughout your week. They're not intended to be deep, detailed studies, but to be a sort of stick that pokes at our inner thinker, so to speak. I hope that we all become more conscious of God and our position relative to Him and to others on a daily and even momentary basis. So without further ado, let's jump in. Hey guys, and welcome. This video is the first in a new series I'm calling the This Ain't That series. You know, we've all come to places in our walk with God where we've been challenged to leave stuff behind in order to go to the places that God is calling us to. And you know as well as I do, the bigger the deliverance, the greater the promises, the more miraculous the breakthrough, the more we're asked to leave behind. It's such a tough thing and such a tough process, but it's just the way that Abba works. Let me ask you a question. What's one thing that you can vividly remember God asking you to leave behind as He was calling you to a new level of commitment to Him? Without a doubt, I think the hardest thing to leave behind is not necessarily a person or a relationship. It's not a job or a possession, but a mindset. I firmly believe that we can leave behind all the toxic relationships. We can leave behind a great job. We can leave behind the idols in our lives and the unholy lifestyles. And if we don't have a mental paradigm shift, we've suffered that loss really for nothing. Because time and time again, if we don't change our minds, we'll end up right back in the place that He's calling us from. Philippians 2:5, a verse that we all know, challenges us to let this mind be in you that was also in Messiah, Yeshua. Well, that statement begs the question, what kind of mind was in Yeshua? Romans 12 encourages us not to be conformed to this world, but that we would be transformed into something set apart, separate, different, unique, peculiar, holy, as we renewed our minds. Our being set apart and sanctified is a direct product of being renewed in our thinking. So renew our minds to what model? Well, Yeshua, our Messiah's, of course. I want to read really quickly from Ephesians 4. And He Himself gave some as emissaries, and some as prophets, and some as evangelists, and some as shepherds and teachers. Get this, for the perfecting of the set apart ones, to the work of service, to a building up of the body of Messiah, until we all come to the unity of the belief and of the knowledge of the Son of Elohim, to a perfect man, to the measure of the stature of the completeness of Messiah, so that we should no longer be children, tossed and borne about by every wind of teaching, by the trickery of men, in cleverness, unto the craftiness of leading astray. But maintaining the truth in love, we grow up in all respects into Him who is the head, Messiah. There's really much more in these words than we have time to cover today, but I do want to key in on a couple of phrases. Do you realize that what we now know of as the fivefold ministry was given to us for our perfecting? And not just to anyone, but to those who have already been set apart. Well, didn't Jesus accomplish all that on the cross? That's actually a great question. And the follow-up question would be, if He did, then why are we being challenged these things in Ephesians 5? And to what purpose? Well, what does it look like with skin on? And if Yeshua was our example, then what did it look like in His life? I think it should remind us that He was not tossed by every wind of teaching that He came across, that He was approached with. And there were a lot in His day, as many as there are in our day. He also wasn't tricked by the smooth-talking ear ticklers. The craftiest and most clever of His day could not pull Him away from His commitment to who He knew He was. So let's ask ourselves the honest question. Does that sound like us today? Take some time to stop and listen to the conversations around you. Not like creepy, stalkery listen, but just take note of what's being talked about in your day-to-day life. Here's the truth. Human beings love fads. We love cool new stuff. Clothes, music, movies, TV shows, food. Have you ever stopped to think that maybe we carry some of these attitudes into the things of God and our relationship to God? Always looking for the next spiritual fad? And don't get me wrong, this is not a 21st century Western American issue. This propensity has been in us for all of recorded human history. Don't believe me? Go back and read about Adam and Eve again and tell me if there's not a pattern that developed here. So how did Yeshua stay so rock solid? Well, he was Yeshua, of course. Yeah, and here's the thing. We are to imitate him. In this series of videos, we're going to go through what may seem like some mental gymnastics, but I really want you to stick with me. We want to honestly assess where we are and come to terms with where we are, and honestly ask ourselves, is it worth us to grow up into a place where we can fill Messiah's shoes? So welcome to the journey. I pray your life will never be the same.